For 3 whole weeks, Jungkook's life had turned into a slow, torturous prison that had nothing to do with guns, enemies, or mafia politics. It was entirely because of their twin cousins. Ever since he increased his medication and his condition improved by that tiny but important 5%, Yoonjin and Yeonjun treated their job like the world's most sacred mission. Jungkook had never seen anyone take a role so seriously, especially when that role involved hovering over him like two oversized, overly dramatic mosquitoes who refused to kill. Yoonjin would appear the moment Jungkook woke up, standing at the door with his wide, chaotic grin, as if he had been guarding the entrance like a soldier waiting for a VIP. Except this VIP just wanted 5 minutes of silence. Jungkook couldn't take a single step outside his room without Yoonjin practically glued to his side. Whether he walked to the bathroom, to the kitchen, to the living hall, or even to his office, Yoonjin shadowed him like a second spy. Always watching, always reporting, always following you and Jimin's instructions with exaggerated seriousness. And Jungkook, who was used to everyone trembling in fear at his name, found himself trembling instead, but out of irritation so strong he sometimes felt like tearing his hair out. Every time Jungkook reached for a cigarette, Yoonjin appeared out of nowhere like a ghost summoned by nicotine. The moment Jungkook's fingers brushed the packet, Yoonjin would snatch it at lightning speed and sprint across the room as if he were in the Olympics. If Jungkook tried to drink even a single sip of whiskey, Yoonjin would smack the glass away with dramatic slow-motion movements, letting the drink spill all over the floor, making Jungkook's veins bulge with rage while Yoonjin apologized with a bow so deep he nearly fell over. Jungkook hadn't smacked or drunk, smoked or drunk anything in weeks, but he felt like he needed both at the same time just to tolerate Yoonjin's constant chatter, and Yoonjin never stopped talking. He narrated everything, every step Jungkook took, every sigh, every blink, even wrote detailed notes like a professor conducting scientific research. Jungkook hadn't known it was possible for one human to produce that much noise from morning till sunset. But Yoonjin proved it. Night didn't bring relief, night brought Yeonjun. And if Yoonjin was chaos, Yeonjun was disaster packaged in a deceptively calm face. He insisted on sleeping in Jungkook's room, just like you had ordered, and Jungkook felt like he was living in a dorm room with an over-affectionate, overly curious roommate. Yeonjun would lie beside him, scrolling on his phone with brightest at maximum, humming random song, turning every 20 minutes, kicking Jungkook accidentally, tugging at the blanket, and sometimes sitting up suddenly because he felt like something was crawling on his leg, scaring Jungkook half to death. Jungkook, he used to sleep like a dead man and wake up fully energized within seconds. Now wake up multiple times each night, either because Yeonjun snored or talked in his sleep, or accidentally rolled onto Jungkook's arms, or randomly told him about something he saw on the internet that had nothing to do with anything. If Jungkook shifted even slightly, Yeonjun would open his eyes and ask if he needed anything, ready to report any detail back to him. Jungkook had never felt so watched and so restricted in his life. Every night he silently prayed for morning, and every morning he silently prayed for night, each shift bringing a different type of torture. By the end of the third week, Jungkook was losing his mind. He needed nicotine, he needed a drink, he needed 5 minutes without the twins breathing over his shoulder. But every attempt he made was crushed instantly. Once he tried to sneak into the storage room to grab a hidden bottle he thought no one knew about, but Yeonjun caught him red-handed, gasping like Jungkook was committing a crime, dragging him out dramatically while Yeonjun joined in, scolding him like an angry auntie. Jungkook had never felt such humiliation. He was the mafia leader, feared by half the underground world, yet here he was, being dragged through his own mansion by two over-enthusiastic twins who treated him like a rebellious toddler. Meanwhile, you and Jimin enjoyed every second of it. From the balcony, you watched the chaos unfold with amusement, pretending to be concerned but failing terribly because your smile gave you away. Jimin couldn't keep a straight face either. Sometimes he had to leave the room because he was laughing too hard. Even the guards, who usually maintain poker faces, struggled to keep a straight posture. The maid whispered and giggled behind curtains. Everyone watched like it was the funniest show they would seen in years. The mansion had not been this lively in a long time. Yunjin bumping into furniture, Yeonjun tripping over carpets, Jungkook gritting his teeth with murder in his eyes. Jimin sending you secret glances whenever something stupid happened. Both of you nearly bursting with laughter every few minutes. It was chaos, but it was the kind of chaos that made the house feel alive again. And though Jungkook could never admit it out loud, deep down somewhere beneath his irritation and cravings, he understood why you were doing all this. The small improvement in his health, the way he vomited less blood, the way his breathing sometimes came easier, proved that your ridiculous methods were working. His sanity might be slipping, but his body was getting better. Slowly, painfully, but surely. You were willing to be the villain if it meant saving him, and he could see that even when he glared at you, like he wanted to strangle someone. Still, he swore that once he was healthy enough, once the treatment was over, and once Yunjin and Yunjun were no longer glued to him, he would get his revenge, and he would start with you. The living hall felt heavier than usual that afternoon, a kind of tension that wrapped itself around the walls and settled in the air like the thick smoke. Jungkook sat on the long black leather sofa, leaning back but still holding the authority of king sitting on his throne. One arm rested on the arm's head, fingers tapping lightly, while the other hand held the file Jimin had given him minutes earlier. His guards stood in a straight line, backs stiff, shoulders squared, waiting for every word that dripped from Jungkook's lips. Jimin stood beside him, slightly behind, a tablet in his hands, his posture disciplined but his eyes sharp and alert. You stood near the stairs with Yunjin and Yeonjun on either side of you, all three of you silent, your cousins unusually quiet because they could feel the seriousness in the room. You, however, had a deep frown acted on your face, your brows knitted together every few seconds as you tried to make sense of what was happening. Guards, recruitments, shipments, new handlers. None of this sounded like a businessman's routine. Something felt wrong, something felt hidden, but you didn't interrupt, not when Jungkook and Jimin were working with such intense focus. Jungkook flipped the file open, eyes scanning through the pages before he spoke, his voice deep and steady. The new recruits. How many passed the physical test? One of the guards stepped forward immediately, bending his head slightly. 25, sir. The others failed to meet the combat requirements. Jungkook licked his tongue, softly shaking his head with irritation. 25 is too low. We screened 80. What are they teaching them? Jimin answered before the guard could, his tone calm but firm. Most of them lacked discipline. Their reflex time was slower than expected. Jungkook let out a slow breath, rubbing his jaw. Then get rid of them. I don't want weak people slowing us down. Your eyes widened slightly at his words. Your confusion deepening. Combat, reflex, weak. These weren't terms used in normal business. You continued watching silently, but your frown only grew more visible with each passing second. Jungkook leaned forward, placing the file on the coffee table with a quiet thud. What about the shipments, the ones coming from Busan? Another guard stepped up, lifting his chin to speak clearly. Scheduled to arrive tonight at 2 am, sir. Route confirmed. The secondary truck is already on standby. Jungkook narrowed his eyes. Did you double check the route? Yes, sir. Triple check. The guard replied quickly. Jimin shrugged lightly, adding, "Still, we will need extra eyes near the checkpoint. We can't risk a repeat of last week." Jungkook's fingers stopped tapping. He looked at Jimin with a sharp glint, his tone dropping dangerously low. "There won't be a repeat of anything if everyone does their job properly." The guard stiffened even more, swallowing hard. You felt a strange chill creep down your spine. You had seen Jungkook angry before, but this tone was different. It felt like a threat laced with ice. Jimin continued, flipping the tablet screen towards Jungkook. "This is the update list of recruits. These," he tapped the names, "are the ones we can trust." The others need further checking. Jungkook snorted quietly. "Half of these men wouldn't survive one night if something was wrong." He looked up at the guards, his gaze slicing through them like a blade. "If they want to work under me, they follow my rules. No mistake, no excuses. If someone is too slow, too scared, or too stupid, they're out. I don't babysit." Yunjin shifted nervously beside you, whispering under his breath. "He sounds like he's running a military base." Yeonjun gulped, leaning closer to you. "His business doesn't look very business." You didn't respond. You were too busy trying to keep your face neutral, even though your mind buzzed with questions. Shipments, recruits, combat tests, checkpoints. None of this matched what you thought he did. You thought his guards were just guards for protection, nothing more. But everything you were hearing sounded like something far more dangerous. Jimin cleared his throat, tapping another page on the tablet. "Cook, about the shipment, there's a slight change in the route. The supplier said the original route might have unexpected inspections tonight." Jungkook scoffed, a cold smoke forming. Unexpected or arranged? Jimin lowered his voice. "Could be arranged." Jungkook sighed heavily, dragging a hand through his hair. "Fine, change the route. Take the longer way. And place 2 extra cars behind the main truck. I don't want anyone trying to intercept it." The guards nodding quickly. Jungkook added, "And make sure the crates stay sealed. Last time someone tried to meddle with them. I'm not tolerating it again." Your breath caught for a moment. Crates, sealed, intercept. Every second added more confusion. You felt Yunjin glance at you with concern, but you kept your lips pressed together tightly. This wasn't the time to question him. Not when the atmosphere was this sharp, not when Jungkook looked like the embodiment of tension and anger. He leaned back again, cracking his neck slightly before speaking. "Next, what about the background checks of the men from yesterday?" Another guard stepped forward. "All cleared, sir, except one. He lied about his past job." Jungkook's jaw clenched. He looked up slowly, eyes dark, and the guard swallowed. "He was caught before he entered the mansion. You interrogated him." Jungkook stared at him silently, the tension suffocating for a moment. "Did he talk?" The guard nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. He admitted he was sent by a competitor." Jungkook's expression didn't change. He simply said, "Deal with him." Jimin looked at the guard and repeated softly, "You heard him. Deal with it before tonight." Yunjin covered his mouth with his hand, eyes wide. Yeonjun stared straight ahead, stunned into silence. You didn't move at all. Your chest tightened slightly, your thoughts raced. Competitors, interrogation, deal with him. Nothing made sense. The meeting continued. Jungkook's voice low but powerful. Jimin assisting, the guards responding with utmost seriousness. You couldn't bring yourself to speak. You just watched, listened, and tried to process the reality unfolding in front of you. The room felt colder with every word Jungkook spoke. There was a world he lived in, a world he hid behind those quiet eyes and rare smiles. A world filled with danger, secrecy, and something far beyond business. A world he never told you about. And as Jungkook continued discussing routes, shipments, threats, background checks, and replacement. You stood in on the stairs, staring at him with a tight chest, realizing for the first time that the man you were trying so hard to protect was living a life you didn't fully understand. The moment the guards filed out of the living hall and the heavy door shut behind them, the atmosphere loosened, not for Jungkook or Jimin, but for you. Jungkook leaned back on the sofa, shoulders tense, jaw locked, still thinking through the instructions he had given. Jimin rubbed his forehead, looking exhausted because this meeting had drained him. You, on the other hand, released a long breath. You didn't even realize you had been holding. Your cousins Yeonjun and Yoonjin practically collapsed beside you on the opposite sofa, fanning themselves dramatically as they had just witnessed a whole undercover FBI operation. You adjusted yourself, sitting up straight. You stared directly at Jungkook and Jimin, your brows still drawn together in a deep, stubborn frown that you had been holding during the entire meeting. Finally, unable to stop yourself, your voice broke into the silence. Okay, someone better explain what is going on, you said, slow, controlled, but with an edge that showed you were done pretending you understood anything. Your eyes locked onto Jimin's because he was the only one who usually gave you a straight answer, but this time he exhaled softly and shook his head. Raising both hands as if surrendering. Wyan, please, he said gently, stay out of this matter. It's not for you. You rolled your eyes so dramatically, the sound of it could have echoed in the hall. Oh, please, Jimin, you said, crossing your arms. I have been living here for weeks. I deserve to know why everyone is talking like they're preparing for a war. Yonjin immediately nodded beside him, whispering, warlike vibes. Yunjin added in a whisper, battalion level seriousness. You elbowed both of them to shut up. Jimin pinched the bridge of his nose, looking between you and Jungkook like he was. Like he was silently begging Jungkook not to open his mouth, but Jungkook leaned forward slowly, elbows resting on his knees. That familiar cocky smoke slowly forming on his face, the one he wore when he was about to say something he knew would annoy you. Why? He said lazily, as if entertained. You scared or curious? His gaze dragged over your face as he tilted his head slightly. Or do you just want an excuse to say, stay close to me? You blinked once, twice, then said flatly, you are not so special. Relax. Yeonjun choked on his own breath. Yunjin clapped a hand over his mouth to stop himself from laughing. But Jungkook's mouth only widened, irritation and pride mixing together. You seem frustrated, dog. Jungkook said arrogantly, if you want attention, you can just say it. No need to act clueless. You gave him the most nonchalant expression in the universe. Attention from you. You scoffed. I would rather ask Yunjin's pet or pet turtle for attention. Yunjin gasped proudly. She, she remembered my turtle. Jimin slapped his own forehead, muttering, Why am I still here? Jungkook chuckled, low and mocking. You're not ready for the truth, he said, while dropping into something dark, serious, intentional. You can't handle it. You sat up, even straighter, jaw lifting stubbornly. Try me. Yeonjun and Yoonjin simultaneously nodded with the drama of a movie audience waiting for a twist. Jungkook's smoke slowly faded. His expression shifted, losing all playfulness, all lightness, turning cold and sharp like a blade sliding out of its sheath. Fine, he said quietly, his tone changing the temperature of the room instantly. I'll tell you, Jimin's eyes widened. Jungkook. But Jungkook lifted a hand to silence him. He looked you dead in the eyes. I'm not normal, a businessman. He said slowly, I'm not just someone who needs cards for show. His voice deepened, each word enunciated. I'm JK, a mafia boss. The room went silent, completely silent. Even the clock on the wall felt like it had stopped ticking. You stared at Jungkook. Your cousins stared at Jungkook. Jimin stared at you. Jungkook waited, expecting fear, shock, trembling, tears, whatever people usually do when they find out the man sitting in front of them is a dangerous mafia leader. But your brain did something else entirely. In your head screamed, "No, no, Ryan, no. Please, no, no, please, no." Too late. A tiny breath is not, then a burst, then another burst. And suddenly you, Yeonjun and Yunjin exploded into laughter so loud it could have shaken the entire mansion. You clutched your stomach, bending forward, laughing uncontrollably. Mafia, you wheezed. He said Mafia. Oh god. Yunjin fell sideways on the sofa, kicking his legs. Mafia boss JK, I can't. Yonjun was wiping his tears, choking out. Bro looks like a toddler pretending to be a Batman. How? How does he be a Mafia? Jungkook froze, absolutely froze. His face went blank, then red, then furious. You pointed at him between breaths. Jungkook, you Mafia, you can't even hide your secrets properly. You slapped Yunjin's shoulder. Tell him how you found his secret stash under the lamp. Jimin looked at you like you had lost your mind. He mouthed aggressively. Stop laughing now. But the more he signaled, the harder you laughed. Jungkook's jaw clenched so tight the muscle twitched. Are you done? He said with a deadly calm voice. But you weren't. You were laughing so hard your vision blurred. Yeonjun added. Imagine him saying freeze and then tripping over his own shoelace. Yunjin screamed. Mafia toddler. You three laughed like the world was ending. Jungkook stood up so fast the sofa shook.